And happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the Greg Cherry Show. I am, of course, the host of this shindig, Greg Cherry, the longest reigning NoDQ.com Wrestling Trivia Challenge champion in history. And, of course, we'll talk about that a little bit later on during the show. But thank you guys for joining me. Yes, I know I was absent last week. I had to take care of some issues with my vehicle, but we're back this week, and we got quite a bit to talk about. So thank you all for joining us today. And of course, we're going to be talking about wrestling, as we always do. And we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. Football season is over, which a lot of people might enjoy because, let's face it, when Jeff and I are on the show talking football, some people aren't as into it as other people, but the football season's over. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl briefly and then get into everything else. And it's Weird Law Wednesday, as always. We're going to talk about some of the weird laws in the state of Wisconsin. So stay tuned for that. And, of course, send in all of your questions for the Wednesday Q&A. Now, we're going to talk about wrestling in a little bit, but I do want to talk about the Super Bowl. I did watch the game on Sunday, and it did not go at all how I figured it would. Tampa Bay's defense came to play. And whatever they decided to dial up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs worked like a freaking charm. And it is just insane to me. I couldn't believe how dominant Tampa Bay was. And you can say what you want about Tom Brady. It was, oh, yeah, it's a Tom Brady-led offense. Of course they dominated. He hasn't always won, remember. But the fact is, the defense really made that look easy for the Buccaneers offense. And with Tampa Bay winning yet another Super Bowl, could they position themselves for another one next year? That's the big question on everybody's mind. Is Tom Brady going to win his 8th? And is he going to win more once he retires? It just seems absurd that he has 7 Super Bowl rings. He has more rings than any franchise, which makes a lot of people cringe, but hey, at least he didn't win his 7th with the Patriots. That would have been abysmal. Jermaine Presley says, football season is never over with a football fan like you, and we could talk about 24/7. We could. We really could. And it's... I wish that the XFL was running because then we could continue the segment. So it's going to be interesting to come up with segments the next few weeks. And Joe Hill says that just goes to show that defense wins championships. And they absolutely did. I mean, that defensive performance from Tampa Bay was absolutely stellar. And they don't get near enough credit. Everybody's talking about, oh, Tom Brady. It's like, listen, if the defense wouldn't have come to play like they did, they probably would have given up even more points to Patrick Mahomes. But they shut that offense out. 3 field goals the entire game for Kansas City. That is unlike any Patrick Mahomes-led team. And yes, he's only been in the league a couple years, but people just don't do that to the Kansas City Chiefs. And that begs the question. Did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers provide the blueprint to beat a Kansas City team led by Patrick Mahomes? Did they provide the way for the Chiefs not to be a future number 1 seed? That's really what the question is. Because the Chiefs, for the longest time, seemed like they weren't invincible, but they were impenetrable. But now there's kinks in the armor. And the Buccaneers pretty much shattered that armor on Sunday. So that might be something that in the offseason Kansas City is going to have to figure out, because they were dominating for the longest time. I mean, they dominated the Bills in the AFC Championship. But then they get slaughtered by a number 5 seed? Makes you wonder. Mike Gonzalez says, I think Brady wants 9 rings before he retires to pass Belichick, who has 8. 2 with the Giants and 6 with New England. I don't know how many more years Brady has left in him. He's been in the league for 20 years. Like, how long can a guy keep going? I guess if nobody touches him, he could go till he's 65. But if you can't get past the offensive line that Brady has protecting him, you're not going to win games. It's just the fact of the matter. Elon Brown says there were a few questionable calls in the Super Bowl too. There were, and a couple of the flags on Kansas City were completely unnecessary, and Tampa Bay barely got flagged at all. It was really one-sided as far as the flags went. And I'm not saying Kansas City didn't deserve some of the flags that they had, but that one pass interference, which I still think was incidental contact, that didn't need to be called. Joe Hill says, yeah, Mahomes playing with turf toe didn't help, and I think they really exposed the Chiefs. Yeah. But the thing is, Mahomes still made some ridiculous plays. There were incompletions, but he still showed some ridiculous athleticism, even with the turf toe. I don't think anything was going to stop him from playing in the game, barring like a broken ankle or leg or arm or something like that. Yeah, turf toe, it wasn't going to stop him. But like I said, he was still, I don't think it was going to make that big of a difference whether he was fully healthy or not. I think that Mahomes just got outplayed. I think it would have been the same even if he was fully healthy. Jermaine Presley says, I think the Chiefs had the wrong game plan. When you have 2 or 3 of your offensive linemen out, you need to run the ball more and concentrate on that. Plus, with play action, they didn't do that. Yeah, they didn't run too many play action plays. They got behind too early, and then you press the panic button. When you're down 2 or 3 scores, you basically have to go to your pass game, and that's... Le'Veon Bell didn't even suit up, which I don't know if that was by design or what the case was, why they didn't have an extra running back or 2 back there to spread out the love, but I don't know. It's only a matter of time until another team finds the weak points to the armor to Tampa Bay. It's like I said, Tampa Bay was a 5 seed. It's not like they were undefeated going into that game. They had some losses. They didn't even have a home field advantage, but they still found ways to win. And that's really all that matters. They won when it mattered. They're not invincible, but Kansas City absolutely had the wrong game plan. Mike Gonzalez, I don't want to disregard what Brady has done, but I feel with how the rules of the game have changed, it allows quarterbacks like Brady to play into their mid-40s, where quarterbacks like Montana never had the opportunity. That's probably true also. I mean, it is definitely a passing league, much different than the league where Montana and Bradshaw and Joni Unitas and all of them played. Jermaine says the Chiefs rely on the big play too much. It helped them with a Super Bowl win because San Francisco's defense fell apart and their quarterback made mistakes, but Tampa didn't do that and they won. Yeah. They do rely on the big play, like chunk plays. You have to be able, I hate the phrase dink and dunk, but you have to be able to get the yardage. Like first downs matter. Like you can't just expect to have Tyreek Hill break out 45, 50-yard plays every drive. It just doesn't happen. Did it happen in the first game they played against each other in the regular season? Sure. But you're not going to be able to run the same plays against the same defense in that big of a game. You're just not going to do it. And I don't know what the game plan was with Kansas City, but they were like, oh yeah, we did it to them before, we can do it to them again. It's like, they know what you're coming with. And they held that entire offense in check all game. So just because it worked before doesn't mean you don't have to do the work to make it work again. I'm sure Kansas City went into that game thinking they were just going to coast right over the Buccaneers. And boy, did they get a bitch slap of reality. Is Tom Brady the GOAT to you? not having been a Patriots fan ever, I mean, how can you argue with the stats? He's won the Super Bowl 7 times. No other quarterback has won more than 4. Does it drive me insane? Absolutely, because I want the Steelers to be Super Bowl champions every year. I know it doesn't happen, but how can you argue with results? The man's been to 10 Super Bowls and won 7. Those are ridiculous, ridiculous stats. And he won the Super Bowl in 2 different conferences. Like, it was the AFC for the first 6 and the NFC for this one. I don't know if there's ever going to be another quarterback in our lifetime to do what Brady does. All right. We can talk a little bit about the Elimination Chamber coming up. Not this Sunday, because this Sunday is TakeOver. But also, James Malspino, I guess the question I asked you about a year ago was answered. Was it Belichick or Brady? It was definitely Brady. It was absolutely Brady. I kind of had the feeling when they went their separate ways that New England was going to fall apart. And it was only a year. It's only a year, so it's still kind of early to judge, but Tom Brady's Tom Brady. And yeah, JB3, he went to Michigan. Big deal. Brady's overrated. 25 years and only 1 NFC. Get out of here. But yeah, it's. I don't think there will be another Tom Brady or anywhere close in our lifetime. People like to say Patrick Mahomes. People used to say Aaron Rodgers because they only got 1 Super Bowl ring apiece. There are very few quarterbacks active right now in the NFL that have won more than 1 Super Bowl. And Roethlisberger is one of them. Is he going to catch Brady? Absolutely not. The Steelers would have to win the next 5. And that's assuming Ben even plays 5 more seasons, but I doubt it. The GOATs, Montana or Brady. I want to, as much as I want to say Montana because of my Notre Dame fandom, it drives me nuts too that one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time came from Michigan. That hurts me. But it's not a current Michigan team. I saw that JB3. So I wish the Elimination Chamber event was later in the year around Survivor Series. I wish that they wouldn't do gimmick pay-per-views like Elimination Chamber and TLC and Hell in a Cell and stuff like that. Don't force gimmick matches into pay-per-views because then you don't. If you don't have the feuds to go into the matches, then don't just have the gimmick match to have the gimmick match. The Royal Rumble and the Survivor Series are the exceptions to the rule, but even Survivor Series has become kind of lame. Survivor Series has no stakes. It's like, oh yeah, it's Raw versus SmackDown. Who cares? Whoever wins doesn't get anything. It's basically a wasted pay-per-view now. If you're going to have stakes, as far as Survivor Series go, I still say that the winning brand, whoever it is, receives number 30 in both the Rumbles, the Men's Rumble and the Women's Rumble. That's what I think the prize should be. Because if NXT were to come back this year for Survivor Series and win the Survivor Series, then they should get the number 30 spot in the men's and the number 30 spot in the women's. Who do you put there? I don't know. But I think Survivor Series should at least have some stakes. Medium rare, in case you're asking. Jermaine Presley has been coming back next year. He is coming back. He said he was going to. From Twitch, we got one from Twitch. What about Drew Brees? If he had a better team in 2010 and 2012, he might have won more. Yeah, Brees is one of those who absolutely could have had multiple Super Bowl wins. The fact that he hadn't is amazing in and of itself. But for some reason, other than that one Super Bowl against the Colts, they just could not put it together, which was very strange. And now I'm pretty sure Brees retired. Is he officially retired? I remember seeing that a couple weeks ago, that Brees was officially done, which might be better for his health. I mean, he took some brutal injuries this past season. But yeah, I think Brees definitely could have had more if he had a better team around him. Brees is definitely one of those that could have had more than one ring. The winning brand doesn't even boast about it anymore. The next night, it's like it didn't happen. And that's my point. They don't really bring up what happened at Survivor Series. When they did the tri-brand one a couple years ago, Seth Rollins went out on Raw and called everybody out for like basically sucking because Raw was last. Out of the three brands, it was NXT with 4 wins, SmackDown with 2, and Raw with 1. So he was calling them out, being like, you guys suck, essentially. So at least there was some follow-up there. But if you're just going to have the Survivor Series to have it and then not follow it up with anything at all, why do the event? And people are like, oh, it's tradition. You know, I was on that fence for a while too. I was on it's tradition. They can't get rid of one of the big four. But it seems like every other pay-per-view has meaning. All the other big fours. Royal Rumble, obviously, you can't get rid of that one because that one has WrestleMania implications. You can't get rid of that. WrestleMania, of course, is WrestleMania. SummerSlam is basically like the WrestleMania of summer. But Survivor Series just seems like the one that's constantly forgotten about. Like you have all this, it's the one time a year that Raw faces SmackDown. It's like, well, there's the Rumble and there's Money in the Bank and blah, 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 blah. But no, just have stakes at Survivor Series. Make the matches mean something. You can't just have matches that are like, oh yeah, it's because they're Raw versus SmackDown. This is why we're doing the match. Well, what do the winners get? Pride? Bragging rights? Who cares? Nobody cares about bragging rights. The matches are forgotten about a week later. At least have some implications for what the brands are competing for. It's like the Pro Bowl in the NFL. Nobody gives a crap. It's not like the next year, like the Super Bowl is hosted in one of their conference stadiums, which I still think would be a good idea. At least for the Major League All-Star game, like home field advantage goes to the winning league. Like if it's the American League or the National League, at least in the Major League Baseball All-Star game, the winning team gets something. It matters. I don't understand why football can't adopt that or WWE can't adopt that. Do something with the Survivor Series to make it important again. Now, granted, the early Survivor Series matches, which were just matches with a bunch of people feuding with each other, was there a whole lot of payoff there either? You could argue yes, you could argue no. But if you're going to do the brand thing, make it worth something. Drives me nuts. Jermaine says, the problem is the road to WrestleMania doesn't even feel like the road to WrestleMania. The Elimination Chamber and Fastlane just feel blah. No real excitement to get us to WrestleMania this year. That's another problem. Do not do 2 shows between the Rumble and Mania. 1 is enough. Why do you need Elimination Chamber and Fastlane? You don't. You don't need that many. Have a 6-week build to WrestleMania. You're allowed to go all of March without a WWE Network event. I understand that you want to put out more content for the network subscribers and for the US Peacock subscribers, whatever, that are coming out. But guys, come on. Have a build to WrestleMania that'll make people want to watch WrestleMania. Last year, you threw championship matches on the card just to have them on the card. Does anybody remember Austin Theory and Angel Garza versus the Street Profits? They threw that match on the card. No build, no nothing. It was just, hey, Raw Tag Team titles defended at WrestleMania. You can't just throw matches on the card with zero build. That's the problem. There is no long-term booking. There is no long-term thinking about what we're going to do. Guys, it's WrestleMania. If you're going to long-term book any show of the year, it's got to be WrestleMania. What is your problem? I don't understand. It's not that hard. But for you, first of all, any pay-per-view or network event, you shouldn't be throwing matches on the card anyway just to fill time. Every single match should have some sort of storyline build. No matter how minuscule, if you just throw matches up there for people to have matches, nobody's going to care. I mean, you do it enough on Raw and SmackDown. Why do you got to do it with the network events too? You just have matches to have matches. Come on, guys. You're better than that, or at least I would hope so. My goodness, is it exhausting. All right. I think that's enough wrestling talk. And we get into the football talk. Guys, send your questions in for the Wednesday Q&A, which we'll talk about closer to the end of the show. Now, we're going to talk about some of the weird laws of the state of Wisconsin. Good old Green Bay, Wisconsin. I don't know if there's any Green Bay ones in here. There actually aren't, which is very strange. But here we go with some of the weird laws of Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, butter substitutes are not allowed to be served in state prisons. So you're telling me that you can't cheap a prisoner out of his butter? You're like, oh, it's butter substitute. I can't believe it's not butter. No, you got to have that like expensive ass butter in prison. Also, first of all, this looks like a series. As people used to smuggle it in from Illinois, all yellow butter substitute is banned. Who is like that weird about butter substitute that you have to smuggle it in from the state of Illinois? Why would you want to? In that same vein, at one time, margarine was illegal. What is with this state and butter? I know that it's like the cheese heads and stuff, but my goodness. You got a problem with butter in Wisconsin. All right. There's more. Margarine may not be substituted for butter in restaurants unless it is requested by the customer. You guys got a dairy problem in Wisconsin. Another one. While all cheese making requires a license, Limburger cheese making requires a master cheesemaker's license. First of all, if you're making cheese, why do you want to make Limburger cheese? Second of all, is there like an official cheese board in Wisconsin that you got to pass a state bar or something? I'm looking to see if there's any more freaking butter ones. I think we covered all the dairy laws in Wisconsin. Maybe not. State law made it illegal to serve apple pie in public restaurants without cheese. I know that's a weird thing. People do apple pie with cheese. I never understood it. A non-dairy one. So here we go. Whenever two trains meet at an intersection of said tracks, neither shall proceed until the other has. We've had this law before. I don't remember what state. But if neither one shall pass until the other has, that means they sit there for the rest of time. You can't say, oh, like one of you goes and then the other one goes. No, it's like, no, neither one of you goes until the other goes. Well, then neither one of them goes, you jag. Think about your laws. Think about the rules you make. Make them make sense. Also in Wisconsin, condoms were considered an obscene article and had to be hidden behind the pharmacist counter. I don't consider them an obscene item unless you're displaying how to use them. As long as you don't have a live demonstration, it should be fine. This one is... I don't know how to feel about this one. I can see it making a little bit of sense, but in the same breath, the state definition of rape stated that it was a man having sex with a woman he knows not to be his wife. Now, first of all, that's not rape. It's wrong, but it's not rape. So that one is very weirdly phrased. I definitely disagree with that. It is illegal to kiss on a train. Chugga, 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 chugga. No, you can't do that. Why? What's wrong with kissing on a train? That one seems weird. It is illegal to cut a woman's hair. So there's no barbershops in Wisconsin? Not barbershops, salons in Wisconsin. That one seems super outdated. The government may not prohibit manual flushed urinals. I mean, why would you want to? Next up, it is a Class A misdemeanor to wave a burning torch around in the air. That one's... I could get that. You could cause something to catch fire. That one's not as weird as the other ones. Livestock have the right of way on public roads. Now, why exactly are cows crossing the road to begin with? I mean, where exactly do they have to go? And why do they get the right of way? It's not like they have blinkers. All right. This one's definitely weird. In Brookfield, Wisconsin, tattooing is illegal unless it is done for medical purposes. Who the hell gets a tattoo and be like, oh yeah, I have my medical tattoo card? I don't think I've ever met anybody. I've known a lot of people with tattoos. I don't know anybody who says, oh yeah, I did it for medical reasons. What? In Kenosha, Wisconsin, no male is allowed to be in a state of arousal in public. Again, not something you can control. I guess to an extent you can, but again, if you see a pretty woman or a pretty man, whatever, it's 2021, walking down the street and you get aroused, you can't control that necessarily, but whatever. In La Crosse, Wisconsin, it is illegal to play checkers in public. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen rowdy checker players playing in a park in public. All you hear, boom, king me, yeah, yeah. and people coming up to you, yeah, I got a king, yeah, I got a king, yeah, I'm gonna take him out, I'm gonna take out all those red checkers, and he's gonna regret the day he was ever born. You don't see that. You don't see that. That's absurd. Why is it illegal to play checkers in public? Wisconsin, you weird. Also in lacrosse, you cannot worry a squirrel. You can't control their emotions. You don't know how they live. What do you got to tell them? Oh, your nuts are up for mortgage. What? How exactly can you worry a squirrel? My goodness. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, if one is thought of as offensive looking, it is illegal for him to be in public during the day. So it's illegal to be ugly? That doesn't seem very nice, Milwaukee. I don't even have anything to say. That one's just kind of sad. In, I believe it's Racine. Somebody from Wisconsin, correct me if I'm wrong. In Racine, Wisconsin, it is illegal to wake a fireman when he is asleep. What if there's a fire? Think about your laws, Wisconsin. Also in Racine, Wisconsin, missiles may not be shot at parade participants. How many times did somebody participating in a parade get a freaking missile shot at them before they were like, okay, I think that's enough? How does this law even exist on the books? Who shoots a freaking missile at a parade? Get it together, Wisconsin. I know this is just one city in it, but come on, man. In Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, nuclear weapons may not be manufactured in the city limits. Well, I should freaking hope not. But again, how many people did this before you made it a law? Good luck arresting the people or the individuals involved in this. In Sun Prairie, Wisconsin also, cats are forbidden from entering cemeteries. All right, Daisy, you have the right to remain silent. Meow, meow. You shouldn't enter this cemetery. It's after hours, and you're not allowed here. Meow. You gotta arrest a cat now? Some of these laws, I'm telling you, this is one of the weirdest ones we've ever done. Let's see here. In Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, I believe that's how you pronounce it, swimming in water fountains is prohibited. That one makes sense. That one's kind of gross. And why would you, get a pool? Why would you need to go into a public water fountain and be like, oh, yes, I'm going to practice my backstroke? Meanwhile, the water fountain's like a foot deep. And finally, I'm looking for a really good one. In Sheboygan, Wisconsin, no person may water his lawn in such a way as to annoy his or her neighbor. Honey, Bill's watering his lawn again and it's annoying me. What's he doing? He has the hose between his legs, and it's really obnoxious. He's acting like he's peeing on the lawn, and it's making it grow. I don't get what he's doing. How do you annoy somebody by watering your lawn? If you're annoyed by somebody watering his lawn, I think you've got bigger problems. All right, that is all the. It's not all the laws. I could keep going on, but I'm not going to. For Wisconsin. My goodness. I'll tell you what. All right, we're going to hit the Wednesday Q&A. Got some questions for you guys. I'm going to keep scrolling up. Let's see what we got here. Elon Brown asking, are we getting a Shane McMahon match at WrestleMania? I hope so. I am probably one of the few people that's excited to see Shane McMahon back. Yeah, he just appeared on Raw to make the Elimination Chamber match, but I hope it leads to something bigger for Shane. Maybe Shane McMahon faces Drew McIntyre for the title at WrestleMania. I know, like, some people joked about that. I would actually support that. I would be fine with Shane McMahon in a championship match at WrestleMania because you don't have anybody else on Raw. You really don't. It's like, oh, what has Shane done to deserve a championship shot? That doesn't even matter at this point. Drew's beaten everybody, so who else is left to face him? Can you imagine Shane McMahon walking out of WrestleMania as WWE champion? I'd laugh so hard. That'd be awesome. Again, probably one of the few. All right. Also, Elon, do you think Asuka getting screwed out of WrestleMania again by losing the women's title to set up a match for WrestleMania? I don't know what they're doing with Asuka. She's been champion for almost a year, but if they like take the title away from her again right before WrestleMania, especially for a match with Charlotte, if Lacey Evans beats Asuka at the Elimination Chamber, which is possible, and they make it Evans versus Charlotte at WrestleMania, think of how absurd that would be. I mean, they just had a match on Raw. Why would you want to make it for the women's title? It's like, oh, look, Charlotte overcame the odds and her dad to win the women's championship for the 14th time. I know it's not 14. I mean, it's probably close. 10 times women's, 2 NXT tag team titles. Yeah, I guess it would be her 14th title in WWE if she won. Like at this point, Charlotte doesn't have any odds to overcome. The odds are Charlotte to overcome. All right. Mark Simpson. Do you think Randy will win the Elimination Chamber to face Edge at WrestleMania? We don't need to see Orton and Edge again. We don't. We've seen it. We've seen it a bunch of times. We don't need to see Orton and Edge again for the title. It just does not need to happen. Have Edge face Roman. Have Edge face whoever wins the chamber if it's not Drew. Or have Edge isn't going to face the NXT champion. Let's be honest. This guy experienced with the $2 super chat. How would you book Big E to win the WWE title? First of all, if Big E is ever going to win the WWE title, I think he's going to have to win the Rumble to do it. Or like some number one contenders thing. He's not just going to be naturally built up. He has to win a match to get a shot. He might be a year out from that. But I would have him win the Rumble next year and face off against whatever heel champion. Here's how I would book a Big E win. Because I've thought about him winning the Rumble. I think the final four should be all three members of the New Day and some random heel. And you eliminate the heel first. And then the winner of the Rumble is guaranteed to be one of the three members of the New Day. So you get rid of the heel first. It comes down to E, Woods, and Kingston. And then you eliminate Kofi first. And then it comes down to E and Woods. And then E tosses Woods out. E wins the Rumble. And then the New Day comes in. You think they're going to split up, but they actually celebrate together that Big E's going to WrestleMania. And then he goes on and wins the championship. That's how I would book it, personally. I would love to see Shane beat Drew for the belt. Me too. That's what I want. And then he's only like an Intercontinental and United States away from getting a Grand Slam. Shane McMahon is a Grand Slam champion. I would be here for it. Where's Jeff at today? You solo? Yeah, I'm solo today. Jeff is actually out today. He'll be back tomorrow for Rewind and for the WTC post show, which I do want to promote tomorrow on exclusively on the Greg Cherry brand. Did I do the background? Yeah, that's the background. Whoops, diddle. Do I not have the graphic? I don't have the graphic. Give me 1 second. I'll upload a graphic. And get into more of your questions. That's a crazy. Is that about the Big E booking of the Rumble, or is that about Shane winning the title? Either way, I think it would be a good one. But yes, tomorrow it is the NoDQ.com Wrestling Trivia Challenge exclusively, and I will say it again, exclusively on the Greg Cherry brand YouTube channel. I've tried a few times to get the shows to air across the Jeff Meacham Network, the NoDQ channel, and the Greg Cherry brand. But unfortunately, StreamYard did not like to cooperate. So I've made it exclusive to the Greg Cherry brand. If you want to check out the past episodes, the Adam Blampier Hunter Chambliss match from last week is already up. Travis Fame versus Jordan Owens will be tomorrow for the opposite side of the bracket. So check that out. It's definitely a good one. You'll want to check that one out. And then the post show should be live across the Greg Cherry brand, the Jeff Meacham Network, and hopefully, as long as Riff doesn't cancel it, the NoDQ channel, because I think he did last week, but it's okay. But yeah, it'll definitely be a good time. I'll put the link in for the post show for tomorrow. So if you follow the NoDQ channel, you'll see it. If you follow the Greg Cherry brand, you'll see the actual episode. So go subscribe over there. Go do it. I have over 1,100 subscribers over there now, which is awesome. I gained a bunch from the Blampier match last week. So go subscribe over there if you don't already. And check out the NoDQ.com Wrestling Trivia Challenge tomorrow on the Greg Cherry brand. And I think that is it. Although I do have this one question from Malcolm Sanders. What do you think about Nia Jax hurting her hole? It's probably the funniest thing that Nia's done. I wonder, part of me wonders if they're going to overbook the crap out of this and make Nia almost like a goofy character now. But it's probably the most over thing she's ever done with fans. And the fans even chanted, "You deserve it," at her for winning the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. But yeah, it's funny. We'll see if it gets overplayed. But they took it out of the YouTube version of the clip. They censored it. So I don't know if they're going to build on it, but it was definitely a meme-worthy moment and was trending for a couple days, actually. It might still be trending for all I know. But props to Nia for giving us a moment that we will never soon forget. All right. Again, tomorrow on the Greg Cherry brand, the NoDQ.com Wrestling Trivia Challenge, as it is every Thursday, 6 o'clock Eastern. Go check that out. Go subscribe. I have a playlist of all the episodes. If you want to go check those out, go check those out. And we will be back next week with another Greg Cherry show. So thank you guys very much for joining me here today. And until next time, I will see you again next week for another edition. If I can find the graphic. There it is. Ha! We'll see you again next week for another episode of The Greg Cherry Show.